Hi, Philip from Rich Returns. Hope you're doing great today. This is a video walkthrough of our analytics dashboard that I'm very excited to share with you. So let's quickly go through each of the sections. As you can see here on the left side, we have a main dashboard which provides you with different stats on your returns. We have reports, we have trends, and we have exports, and we're going to go through them over the next minutes. The main dashboard that provides you with different stats, we've divided this into two sections. First section is basically on a return level. So it gives you like a broad overview over your business, how it is performing in terms of returns, return rates. So like how many returns did you have in, for example, a specific time frame in relation to the order volume you had on your store, right? There are two toggles here. We also had them before, so they're nothing new, but if you didn't know, adjust for order date means if you look, for example, for the last month, let's just pick, for the sake of it, June, you can either look at all the returns that were placed in June, or you can look at all the returns that were placed for orders in June, right? So there's a big difference between it. And the second option include open orders. Obviously, Shopify has the concept of like a closed order, basically that already fulfilled, and they have like open orders that are still waiting for something, might be a payment or something like this. So you can include them or exclude them, right? So we've 9 KPIs over here that are return based. And then we have 9 metrics here that are item based, right? So these are structured into refunds, exchanges, and store credit, and should just give you a high level overview of what customers are choosing, right? This is will also be dependent on what you offer your customers, right? So some stores might only offer refunds. Some stores might only go in like the revenue keeping direction with only offering exchanges and credit, right? So these numbers will heavily depend on what your setup is, but they will give you I think a very good idea of how did your store perform and how did different actions that you did in the past, for example, you changed your return policy or you made other changes in your store, affect your rates, right? And you have these little buttons, graph up here. They give you a better idea of trends, right? So if you look at trends, basically you have a visual idea of the volume of returns you're getting, of the volume of refunds you're getting, of the volume of exchanges you're getting. You can also compare them, right? So we have this comparison, and just working with a lot of merchants, it really makes sense to play with your return strategy, right? Just from a conversion perspective, right? If I'm a customer and I want to stay a repeat customer, then, for example, I need a way to return products, because if I buy a lot from you, then I will return some products, right? It's just a numbers game. But using these trends reports, I think is very interesting. If you make changes to your return strategy, if you make changes to your store, if you make changes to your products, it's also a very common thing, right? You will probably see this and find this in your reports, right? So just a very common example I've seen on other merchants, if you launch like new products and you receive a massive influx of, for example, exchanges or refunds, might be related to a product defect or something like this, right? So you can spot this pretty early and then go to the manufacturer and basically change the product or work with your product team on the issues the product has, right? And if you want to dive into this even deeper, we'll go into the report section, and the report section basically gives you this breakdown that I just mentioned, that you can sometimes spot on these trends by product, right? Which means obviously you have a product, you have multiple variants per product. So we group them together by like how many times a specific return reason was chosen for a specific product, right? And then you can sort this here, right? And you can like go through them and see the distribution. Just from my experience, you will a lot of times have like this typical 80-20 distribution where like 80% of your returns will be basically caused by a very small set of products, right? And if you really want to make like good business decisions, it totally makes sense to look at this data, right? If we even break it down further, like by variant, for example, you can not only look at like what products has like the most returns, but like what variant, right? Like for example, in this case, it's a candle. Obviously, this is like a demo store here and demo data that we use. But you can see like, okay, what variant caused a problem. If you now think that you're, for example, selling clothing or electronics and a certain variant is basically making 80% of your returns, it's very clear that something is not right here, right? It might be the fit. For electronics, it might be that something's breaking fast or something like this. For candles, like it might be, they didn't like the scent, just like it says here, for example. So you can make like really big decisions that influence your product portfolio, that influence your manufacturing, that influence your product pipeline based on the data you have, right? All return reasons will just list the reasons from recent returns. Most return products, obviously, you can sort either by product, which then gives you the account, variants. Again, as I mentioned, you usually have this distribution where very few products or very few variants make up a huge amount of your returns, right? So it's definitely interesting to look at this data. If you're big into exchanges, which a lot of our merchants are because you can keep so much revenue in the company, then it might also make sense to look at these reports, right? So like what products are most exchanged, especially if you're in clothing, this will give you an idea of what products do not have a good description on the website, do not have a good, for example, fit guide on the website. For example, if you're selling shoes or like, I don't know, trousers or something like this. You can also look at things like, okay, like from which variant did customers make the most exchanges, right? So for example, you have 4 sizes of one pair of pants. And for example, the size M is the one that most customers exchange from, right? Which seems that for some reason, the fit on this might not be right. Same goes for the variants too. So you can look at like what variants the customer exchanged to. And then what is also very interesting is looking at customer comments, right? Setting a time for you, for example, once a week or once a month, and just reading through customer comments and their feedback, which is insanely valuable because if your customers leave comments, you will literally see and encounter their issues and can see basically on a strategic level how you can, and on a high level, how you can resolve these issues to drive down returns, right? So hugely important. Yeah, so the export section is probably something you've already seen. So we do CSV exports here. We also have a public API. If you're like a bigger merchant, you can also pull data right from there. Or if you want to automate your system, you can pull data from there. But these are the 4 sections. We have the dashboards, which has the stats. We have reports, which gives you like a drill down of all the product details. We have trends, which give you a better idea of what is happening in your business and what actual events have an effect on your return, on your customers' return behavior. And we have the CSV export. Hope this gave you a quick overview. Talk to you soon. Bye.